Hello everybody, it's me Nate aka Devil Dog, and I'm back with another dungeon walkthrough. This time we're doing Smileton, the level 90 dungeon of Final Fantasy Endwalker, which you can unlock after beating the main story quests in Old Charlian at the coordinates X11, Y11. Just look for the mission called Cutting the Cheese and that'll help you unlock this dungeon. The item level requirement needed is 540 to enter, and it does drop a 560 level gear and materia. So let's get into this. First up, the first set of trash mobs really doesn't, have too much of an issue with them. You can make a large pull if you choose to, make sure the tank's good and the healer's doing their job right. You shouldn't really have any issues with the first set of trash mobs in this dungeon. Like I said, pull them, burn them, and get on to your first boss. The first boss of this dungeon is against Face. Funny, don't look like the member of the A-Team. And I'll go over each of his moves. First up is a move he does known as Lines of Fire. That's where these totem poles with faces on the outside of the arena, he'll tether to these totem poles and set off these line AoEs that you want to avoid. But pay attention, because the safe spot you're standing in, make sure you notice the color of the face that is facing the ground. You will receive a debuff from this, and you have to alternate through the whole fight whenever he does this move between either a blue smiley face or a red smiley face, because if you don't, after 3 incorrect stacks, you will die from this. Next up is a move known as Off My Lawn, which is a knockback attack that is combined with AoEs on each player. Just space out and make sure that when you get knocked back that you don't overlap, and you'll be okay. Next up is a move known as Temper's Flare, which is a room-wide AoE. Heal through it, you'll be okay. Next up is a move known as Upside Down. This is where the boss will flip the totems on the outside of the arena. Pay close attention to this, because like I said, throughout this whole battle, you're constantly dealing with him doing that move Lines of Fire. So you have to alternate between the blue and the red smiley faces to make sure you don't get 3 stacks to die. Other than that, the only other move that he does is a move known as Heart of Fire 4, which is your standard issue tank buster. It's really nothing that you have to worry about. But just pay close attention to these moves and you'll be able to beat Face and get on to your second set of trash mobs. Okay, as for your second set of trash mobs, treat them like the first. They're not that difficult. Some might throw some AoEs your way, but nothing you can't handle at this point. Gather them up, make a big pull, get them in a corner, burn them down. You'll beat these guys no problem and get on to the second boss. The second boss is the Frameworker, and naturally I'll go over each and every one of his moves. First up is a move he does known as Circular Saw, which is a room-wide AoE. It's unavoidable, heal through it, you'll be okay. Next up is a move that is known as Leap Forward, where the boss will show these indicators of what direction he's facing, and after a certain amount of time he will jump forward and slam to the ground and set off a giant AoE blast. Just pay attention to his little icon of where he's jumping and get away from where he's going. You should be okay. Next up is a move known as Print Workers. Well, he will activate the 2 other robots in the room, turning them into him, and they will all 3 do the same move, Leap Forward. Each of them will be looking in a different direction, and they will jump in that direction. Pay close attention to where each of them are jumping so you can find a safe spot in the room to go to. Next up is a move known as Omnidimensional Onslaught. Save that 3 times fast. It's where these 2 giant layered conal AoE blasts will take place. And treat it similar like you did in some of the other moves, where stand in the one that is going to go off after the one that goes off first. As soon as the first one blows up, go to that area, which is a safe spot. That way you can avoid the secondary blast. It's really not that difficult. It just seems really annoying at first. And the last move he does is known as Steel Beam, which is your standard issue tank buster. Now keep in mind, as you do go through this fight, he will start combining a lot of the leap forward moves and other stuff as well. But at this point, you should be used to this, and you'll be able to beat the Frameworker and get on to your third and final set of trash mobs. Now, this is a little bit interesting because the third and final set of trash mobs you deal with like to set off these giant donut AoE circles. And in the arena where you're at, the area, sometimes you might not have the room to be on the outside. So you have to be careful. You may have to get into the middle of the donut AoEs to avoid getting hit. But at the same time, a lot of the other guys will do AoE blasts as well, like conal blast. So these you have to be a little bit more careful with. You can do a large pull, but just be careful of the giant donut AoEs and those conal AoEs. It makes it a little bit more difficult to find a safe spot to stand in. But other than that, that's really the only thing you have to deal with these trash mobs. Burn them down, kick their butts, and get on to the third and final boss of this dungeon. The third and final boss is against the Smile Maker, the Big Cheese. And this guy here has got some pretty interesting moves. First up is a move known as Explosives Distribution. That's where these crates that are moving on these outside conveyor belts, and you want to pay close attention to the arrows that will appear on these crates. Depending on how many arrows they have, if it's a single arrow, that means it will stay close near the boss, and if it's multiple arrows, that means that the crate will move to the far side of the arena, and after a set amount of time, they will detonate and cause a rather large explosion. So you'll have to make sure that you space yourself accordingly to avoid these explosive crates going off. Next up is a move known as Piercing Missile. It is your standard issue tank buster. Heal the tank to it, you'll be fine. Next up is a move known as Dispense Explosives, where 2 bombs will be laid on the arena and they'll pulse, and if you get too close to them, they will detonate. Now, if you just wait long enough, the next move he does is known as Explosive Power, and this detonates those 2 bombs. So just pay close attention to when he's actually going to detonate them so you're not too close to avoid their blasts. Next up is a move known as Right Disassembler, where he will do a giant AoE in the direction of the right side of where the boss is. He normally also mixes it up with a variation called Left Disassembler, where he does a giant AoE on his left side. Just pay attention to that and you'll be okay. Next up is a move known as Electric Arc. This is a stack move, where as soon as someone gets it, stack and heal through it, you'll be okay. Next up is a move known as Leveling Missile, where he will target all players with these AoEs, and you just want to spread out before they detonate, that way to alleviate some of the damage. And his final move he does is Violent Discharge, which is a room-wide AoE. You can't avoid it, just heal through it. Now, keep in mind, as you're going through this fight, he will start combining the explosive power with the dispensing explosives and piercing missile and explosive distribution. You should be used to this by now. It'll be a nice plethora of all his moves combined. But as long as you just pay attention, there's normally always a safe spot on the arena that you can stand to avoid taking a massive blast from this guy. And you should be able to beat down and destroy the Smile Maker, the Big Cheese, no problem. This was Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I want to thank each and every one of you for watching these videos. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, or at least give me a thumbs up on this video. Please leave in the comments below all kinds of questions you have, any sort of questions you want to ask me about this or anything else. Honestly, let me know if there's anything I've left out of this video that you felt that needed to be left in it, or anything else you think I could have cut out. But in the end, I appreciate everything that you do for this channel, every sort of feedback you give me. And remember, I always end my videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember, people, the devil is in the details. Peace out until next time.